Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, joined by Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas, and Tony Finn at WagerTalk. Guys, we are previewing the top 25 today. Number 2. It feels so weird to call them number 2. Alabama. Listen, this is an Alabama team that reloads every single year. I think maybe preseason number 2 might give them a little chip on their shoulder. Fun fact, now at WagerTalk, we previewed with a new company, partnered with a new company called Touchdown Alabama. So Marco and I had lunch with them the other day. We get I can't wait. I can't wait to get all the information first from those guys. And you know, we've heard some great things. More notably, we talked about Tua, Marco, and how with Jalen Hurts going to Oklahoma, how number 2, Mac Jones, is going to do. I'll let you touch on that and what your thoughts are on this Alabama team.
Well, you know what? Obviously, this team is Tua's team now with Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma. And you look at this team. When you look at the numbers last year, Kelly, for Alabama, this wasn't your typical Alabama team. You know, Nick Saban, finally, we talked about it at lunch. You've got to adjust and go with the flow. And now you got to have an offensive juggernaut. And they were 522 total yards and 46 points a game last year. And think about it. Tua played how much in the second half? 3/4 of the season.
Which is why they were such a first-half juggernaut. I think they covered 9 in a row up until the Citadel game because the books finally caught up and they finally just overlooked a team.
Here's the mind-boggling number with you talk about the first half. First quarter, they jumped on you and put their foot on your throat right out of the gate. They outscored the opposition in the first quarter last year, 233-59 in the first quarter. So,
good grief.
Yeah, you're getting out to the big league.
So not only a first-half bet would have been in order, also maybe be looking for if your outs, quote-unquote, allow you to be able to bet first quarter, maybe something to be looking at for this year as well.
But the one question that we asked the guys on Monday when we were at lunch with the Touchdown Alabama guys, you know, what happens if Tua gets hurt? And they were very high on Mac Jones, that he was going to, you know, he is the number 2 quarterback. They feel confident in him. Now, is he going to be a Tua? No. But we know, as you said, Alabama reloads in the fact that, you know, they didn't have any, problems with letting Jalen Hurts transfer out from the having his scholarship and everything. And it was a bad situation for Jalen. But as we talked about, I don't know that there's a nicer college kid that could have done what he did and not make any waves.
Hey, God bless him. I would have thrown a fit, but that's just me. Tony, I'll let you touch on Alabama. We'll talk about Jalen Hurts coming up in the Oklahoma video.
This is a team that when I first looked at them a month ago or so and started working on my previews for the upcoming season, was that I was surprised that the number of play, and they had some turnover, much like Clemson did on the defensive front, but their returning production is astonishing. Now, my question, maybe even to both of you, would be, it's funny how a lot of the backups got an awful lot of playing time for Alabama in the second half, like you said, Tua sitting, even some of the other skilled position players. So the one thing I have to measure, and one thing I'd ask experts, and I'd ask people who are in knowledge, and that is the returning production was astonishing. Is it because they have so many of those juniors, sophomores, and juniors that produced yards in the third and fourth quarters that are coming back, or is it because of the offense that was just outlined as being far above and beyond what Nick Saban typically produces? So
it's both.
I agree with Marco. It's a both scenario, but yes, when we spoke with those guys on Monday, you know, they mentioned you like to make fun of Bill Snyder a lot, and you know, sometimes that hurts my feelings. But that being said, you have to adapt. You have to move forward. You have to progress as the game progresses. You're going to see those, especially in the Big 12, those high-octane offenses. If you cannot keep up with them, your defense is going to spend entirely too much time on the field, and here we are.
In Kelly, the last point, you know, to say, and we talked about the production, they may have the best wide receiver core in college football this year. And the name to watch is Jerry Jeudy. This is a guy that is going to put up monster numbers this year. And the depth, and you go back to, there was always the adage, you know, don't run up the scores on teams. But unfortunately, we've seen when we get to that last month of the season and they start bringing out the actual, you know, BCS, rankings and everything else for the playoffs, or the playoff rankings, I should say, and that those couple teams that might be on the outside looking in, it pays to start running up the score because, unfortunately, everybody says they don't look at that, but they do.
But they do.
They do look at
Especially when Alabama's being said that maybe their schedule isn't as tough as it is in years past. If they get a chance to beat up on an Auburn or an LSU or even whatever cupcake they play last week in November, I haven't even looked that far ahead.
But normally, guys like the wide receiver core, when you get to the second and third units, they would not get the exposure because you would be handing the football off to try to run, just to run the clock out. That's not the way it's working in college football anymore. You're still attack, and they are getting meaningful downs.
All right, great stuff, guys. WagerTalk TV users get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at either SportsMemo or WagerTalk.com.